中国这么大，永远读不完。最近最期待的就是礼拜六了啊！不是因为明天可以休息，而是你所不知道的中国又来了。之前连续3个礼拜，《你所不知道的中国》第3季在江苏卫视荔枝新闻客户端和 BBC 世界新闻频道同步播出，获得了热烈的反响。片子当中展现的中国传奇，让外籍嘉宾也是赞叹不已啊，更让咱们中国人倍感自豪。那么，继北京和中部、东北以及东部相继震撼登场之后，今天我们将开启中国大西北的探索之旅，在那儿又会给我们带来什么样的惊喜呢？大国风范，中国国园，邀请您收看《你所不知道的中国》探秘之旅，马上启程。
大国风范，中国国园，邀请您收看《你所不知道的中国》。
China is changing. In the last 10 years, it's seen the most extraordinary transformation in every aspect of modern life. Its economy, its technology, its transport, and its culture.
In this series, we'll be exploring one of the most varied and surprising countries in the world. From the remote mountains and diversity of the southwest
to the frozen lands of the northeast. And from huge deserts to teeming cities.
We'll see how people all over China are facing the challenges of the future, whilst preserving the traditions of their past.
Welcome to Tales from Modern China. In this program, we'll be exploring China's northwest, one of the remotest parts of the country. Its vast landmass borders several countries, including Russia, Kazakhstan, and Mongolia. It's home to the centuries-old Silk Road trade route, the ancient city of Xi'an, and mile upon mile of arid desert. I'll be finding out how technology is transforming life here, from harnessing the power of the sun to creating vital new ecosystems. Cameron will be in Shaanxi province to taste a Chinese success story. And Jing will be on the hunt for one of the rarest animals on Earth.
I bet they're out there somewhere.
When you first think of China, you don't immediately think of sand. But more than 1/6 of China's total landmass is dry and sandy, and most of this terrain is found in the northwest. I've come to the Tengger Desert, the 4th largest desert in China. This desert stretches hundreds of kilometers to the north and west, and it's been growing, encroaching on human civilization, turning fields into desert, and clawing the life out of buildings and towns. This land erosion sees dry areas become so arid they lose almost all forms of life. This process is called desertification, and it represents a severe threat to agriculture and ecosystems around the world. Desertification is a global problem. Thousands of tons of Saharan sand reach the Amazon rainforest every year, and even this sand reaches as far as the edges of China and beyond. Who knows where it's going to end up? In recent years, desertification has been made worse by climate change, and China, along with the US and Europe, has been one of the world's main producers of greenhouse gases. But China's use of coal peaked in 2013. Since the 1950s, people here have been trying to push back the desert. A brilliantly simple concept is helping to stem the tide. Xu Jianli leads a group of villagers putting it into practice.
徐老师，你好，能不能给我看一下这个草方格的？
哦，这是草方格。
Yeah， 对。
那就是，它一般是草方格是1米乘1米的焦距离。
These straw squares are the villagers' secret weapon against the desert. They act as thousands of tiny windbreaks, helping to stop the creeping sand.
一定要让它立起来，站立，站立。
So the important thing is to get the straw to really stick up proud here.
站立以后，沙漠过来，它能把它风挡住，挡风，沙漠就不走了。
So if it doesn't stand up, it really doesn't function as a windbreak. Now 我试一下可以吗？
好，
谢谢。
我撒草。
来。Oh, it's actually quite hard work.
脚残。
这样做得好吗？
好。
好 ，OK, good. He thinks I'm not doing a terrible job. 所以一般一天你可以做几个平方米？
一般做660个平方米，1亩地大。
哇，挺快的，谢谢你，谢谢你叫我，谢谢。
I'm eager to see if it works. It's a daunting task, building a lattice of straw right across the desert. In fact, these straw grids are only the first stage in coaxing life back into the sand. And the next stage takes a little bit more investigation. Here at the Shaanxi Desert Research Center, Professor Li Xinrong and his team are researching how the sand trapped inside the grids can be transformed into soil.
减缓了风速以后，大气降层的一些土壤里头的一些微小的一些细颗粒，在上面这是沉积。那么这些物质沉积以后，再经过雨滴冲击，慢慢的就形成一个物理结皮，也叫这个物理结皮，慢慢的就发展成，经过3到4年以后，就成一个生物土壤结皮。
The crust gradually turns into topsoil, helping vegetation to grow.
这个生物土壤结皮，它主要是由蓝藻、地衣、苔藓和土壤里头的一些微生物和土壤表层的微小的颗粒交接在一起形成的一个复合，这是那个地被物。所以它既可以进行光合作用、碳的固定，又可以氮的固定，这些害生灌木提供营养。
Professor Li's team is experimenting with ways to speed up this natural process. They found one way is to use a type of super algae fertilizer. Trials have sprayed these potent biological cultures across sections of desert, helping green shoots take root. The arrival of insect life is confirmation of a newly flourishing ecosystem.
So how long does it take until wildlife starts appearing again?
应该10年就可以形成一个很稳定的一个栖息，这是想象不到的。所以这是人类，跟沙漠和谐相处，那么就是我们风沙防治一个非常好的一个范式，我认为。
The collective effort of villagers and scientists has also helped protect a vital lifeline for this remote region. In the 1950s, China built its first train route through the desert, the Baotou-Lanzhou Railway. In 1970, Zhang Kezhi began his pioneering job trying to stop the railway tracks being overwhelmed by sand.
背上沙漠里面又没有路，采吃，这个采里面就是，因为那是风沙大嘛。 那个锅烧开来沙子，吹的锅的都是沙子。
For years, Mr. Zhang and his team fought nature with nature, gradually creating a vast wall of greenery to slow down the desert.
流动沙丘固定之后，然后就在里面，种树，用骆驼。 拖上了，把石苗拖上来。我们在这沿线，铁路沿线，宽800米，长55公里，全部植上种上的树，给社会做一点贡献，哪怕是一点点的贡献，我觉得也是高兴的。
40 years on, this green legacy of desert shrubs and straw squares still protects the most vulnerable sections of the railway. And although there's still much to be done to stop the spread of the desert, these local solutions are starting to help hold back the sands.
But northwest China is more than just a vast sea of sand. 600 kilometers to the south, in the fertile Yellow River Basin, lies the famous city of Xi'an. One of the oldest cities in China, Xi'an dates back thousands of years.
Xi'an is generally known as the starting point of the Silk Road, a chain of ancient trading routes that spread all the way to the Middle East and then on to Europe.
But today, it's not just silk they're trading in this region. Thanks to internet innovation, there's a humble local product being sold all over the world. Shaanxi's unique climate and geography make it the perfect place to grow apples.
China produces around a half of the world's apple supply, and Shaanxi produces more than any other province. Around 10 million tons in 2015, to be precise.
Over a quarter of the population in Shaanxi, that's 10 million people, work in the apple industry. In the area of Baishui, Liu Yaofeng is a 21st century apple entrepreneur. He's happy to admit he has a Baishui bias.
我是白水人，这辈子无法改变。那么这辈子我只认白水苹果。
Until recently, the apples were sold by farmers directly at local markets. Time-consuming and pretty inefficient, but the internet has changed everything. Entrepreneurs like Mr. Liu have set up online companies to bring Baishui apples to a global market. In order to sell them worldwide, the apples have to meet international standards. At the Baishui Apple Experiment Center, scientists have cultivated a variety of apple sapling that can yield more fruit. And Mr. Liu's company works with the local university and government to teach farmers new skills.
就说是我们公司现在提供技术、生产、施肥、修剪、冬剪，以及目前的电子商务的培训等等一系列，让他们生产出来符合市场销售的这个苹果。
你这蔬菜2年之内就是顶大3年，高度需要长到多少呢？2米8到3米。
Li Fonglin and Liu Bin are part of Mr. Liu's cooperative, so they can leave the marketing to him and concentrate on their core business, farming.
我们现在呢，就是只管种好，卖就是他们的事情。
哎，这个好，您干你的，我干我的。
对呀。
对。
Growers here are adapting to a changing market.
现在就是怎么讲呢？现在都讲究一个是健康，健康是最重要的。所以嘛，我们现在都就种这个苹果，还就是主要以这个有机苹果。
就是含糖量高了，含糖量能达到10%提点几。10提点多。相关的呢，就是那配置就好了，果面就红了。
更红。
更红。
The extra juicy red fruit means that sales of Shaanxi apples have gone from strength to strength, and the region now produces 1/3 of the world's concentrated apple juice. Apples are now much more profitable than wheat or corn, so many farmers have switched over to growing them.
These apples are the cream of the crop.
They are hand-picked, gift-wrapped, and the very best are then sold as delicacies all over the world.
Coming up next on Tales from Modern China, we explore the single biggest solar farm in the world, and Jing befriends one of the rarest animals on the planet.
这是一次非同寻常的讲述，中英联合摄制，全流程深度合作。这是一次激动人心的体验，用国际化视角解读中国传奇。
中国这么大，永远读不完。
跟我一起发现
你所不知道的中国。
6月3日起，江苏广电总台、英国广播公司视觉盛宴同步引爆。大国风范，中国国远，邀请您收看《你所不知道的中国》。
China's northwest is a tough place to live, with extreme temperatures and limited natural resources, except one. The region is blessed with more hours of sunlight than any other part of the country. So, China has started to harness the power of this abundant energy source, creating huge solar farms like this one in Yanchi. This vast array of solar panels is only half complete. When finished, it will cover 46 square kilometers and be the largest single solar power station in the world. This solar farm stretches as far as the eye can see. It will contain an estimated 7.5 million photovoltaic panels, providing up to 2 gigawatts of power, able to meet the daily energy needs of an estimated 2 million families. Cao Dangsheng is a site engineer, responsible for the smooth running of the solar trackers here.
就是平南轴的，平南轴就是随着这个太阳的每天太阳这个日照的方向，它会根据太阳的日照方向会转动。平南轴的发电量可以在理论上来说是比这个固定式支架要提高15%到30%。
This technology should help China reach its target of generating 15% of its power from renewables by 2020. China currently spends more on green power than Europe and the US combined. But building solar farms in the northwest is also designed to address poverty in the region and encourage young people to stay and work here. In many parts of rural China, young people have been migrating away from the villages into the cities, leaving the villages with no workforce. Now, investment on the scale of this solar farm brings new jobs to an area. The huge solar farm has created 2,000 new jobs, and alongside these comes a better standard of living. The company behind the solar farm, CMIG New Energy, is working with the government to build new homes for locals. Villagers Guo Xiuzhen and Guo Wancheng have been subsistence farmers their whole lives. Recently, they moved from their old house where they'd lived for 50 years.
郭大娘，郭大爷，
谢谢你了，
谢谢谢谢，
谢谢。
然后以前的房子是什么样的？
房子是土房子，搁这啥东西土盖起来的。过去风，这个床都是干来得很嘛，哪像床进城，那就来的进啥就进屋里了。
那现在就是能不能形容一下，现在你们这个房子是什么样的？
现在身上也舒服暖和，下雨刮风不管它，可好着呢。
Mr. and Mrs. Guo have, like 1,700 other local families, been given their own solar panels in their back garden, generating free electricity to use at home and on the farm. And any excess can be sold back to the grid. Changes like these can benefit the power company as well as local people. The plan is to create a skilled workforce who want to live here. CMIG New Energy's general manager for the Ningxia region, Bai Baolin, shows me the latest building program.
So who's going to live in these houses behind us right now?
实际这些房子都是给我们的贫困的村民来居住的。我们不会把扶贫看作是累赘，而看作是一个资源。
So in many ways, it's an investment in human resources.
新的这个管理模式，或者是一些其他的技术带到农村去，从而呢提高我们的一些这生活这个质量也好，或者是这个生产水平也好，这是我们的责任。
Villagers are given the chance to train and gain new skills, from working on the solar plant
我是每块板子的每个棱角，然后都要插到位。
to growing their own produce and learning new techniques for inoculating and caring for their livestock.
我们也叫是授人以鱼不如授人以渔。
But if China's northwest is going to continue to develop, many such schemes will be needed, mixing the traditional with the modern, harnessing sunshine instead of coal.
In the sun-scorched, desiccated lands of the northwest, there is one great survivor. The camel. A unique connection to the past, these camels once roamed vast areas of China, Mongolia, and Kazakhstan.
Bactrian camels, which have 2 humps instead of 1, have been used for centuries along the Silk Road, and in fact can only be found on the steppes of Central Asia. Isn't that right, mate?
Nowadays, domesticated Bactrians are a familiar part of any tourist trip to the desert, but they aren't the only double-humped camel around here. They have a cousin, the extraordinarily elusive wild camel. Wild camels are an entirely separate species. Skinnier and notoriously shy, they steer well clear of humans. But these quiet wanderers face serious challenges to their survival. By the 1800s, they were heavily hunted for their meat and hides. By the year 2002, they became critically endangered. And they're now even rarer than giant pandas.
It is believed there are fewer than 1,000 wild camels living in isolated groups in the deserts around here. They are the only wild camels in the world. And I bet they're out there somewhere.
As these camels are so difficult to find, very little is known about their behavior. But now technology is changing that. Thousands of miles away in Beijing, the nerve center for this mission is at the Chinese Academy of Science, where Professor Liu Shaochuang is using GPS to track them.
这就是我们用在野骆驼的项圈。
It looks quite heavy. 这个挺重的是吗？
对于野骆驼来讲没什么问题，因为野骆驼它有
Heavy to me.
Studying the migration data from the collars has given Professor Liu new insight into the behavior of these elusive animals.
那么以前我们认为，很多人认为骆驼是存在着大范围的迁徙的，就是说从这边可能这一天跑几百公里到这边来了。到了一个区域以后，如果这个区域没有人的干扰，有水。 而且那个草也比较好的，它会大部分时间会在这个区域活动。
The data from the GPS collars also reveals predators threatening the camels. Professor Liu shows me how he tracked the last hours of a young camel calf.
对，12个小时呢，这骆驼呢就从这过来了。你看它到这边来了，到这。
哇，这里它有点疯掉了。
然后就到这边来了，到这边以后呢，最后你看它每天跑的特别多。 从这地方开始，我还觉得疯跑了开始。你看，那从这儿开始跑，你看跑，最后跑到这儿来了，最后这骆驼被狼在这给咬。
哦，这个就没信号了。
不是没信号，它老发一个地方的信号，它就不走，它不再移动了。
不再讲了。
特别小骆驼刚出生不久，它就去吃小骆驼，所以狼怎么处理这个狼的问题呢？还是个问题。
With wild camels so under threat, steps have been taken to preserve them. At the Gansu Endangered Animal Protection Center, Zhao Jianyu is running a camel breeding program.
And how many babies do they have at one time?
一次只能收一封以后，哎。
Just one.
One.
And how long is the gestation period?
它的怀孕期大约有13个月，哎。
That's over a year for one baby.
Nevertheless, they've successfully bred more than 20 wild camels, although they sometimes have to hand rear them.
这就是牛奶。Oh, what are you doing now? Wait, there's dining etiquette, mate. Right, come on, back up. Go in, get your head in there. Right, no, stop trying to... I think we should just get him a cow.
China's northwest region is a unique environment. The challenge is how to preserve its ancient heritage while also embracing the future. Next time, we're in the dynamic southeast, where we discover the online craze that's sweeping the nation and spot one of the rarest primates on Earth.
你还别说，以前我只知道沙坡头的雄奇壮美，却不知道这背后是无数治沙前辈的付出与心血。只知道咱们大西北阳光充足， 却不知道世界上最大的单体光伏电站正拔地而起，甚至还能帮助当地老百姓脱贫致富呢。如果不是你所不知道的中国，我也无法想象野骆驼竟然如此稀有和神秘。讲述中国故事，塑造中国形象，你所不知道的中国探索之旅还在继续。下个礼拜六同一时间，锁定江苏卫视励志新闻客户端，我们一起去中国的东南部地区，看看那儿有什么样的不一样的，你所不知道的别样精彩。